Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
And what really blew my mind was the LA Times did a full write-up on this, multiple page write-up. They showed the map of the catacomb cities supposedly leading to some treasure, an ancient treasure, and it said there were reptilian inhabitants of this city. And it connected back to some of the beliefs of the indigenous Native Americans. In the film Hollow Earth Chronicles, we not only talk about this, but we got full resolution film scans from the LA Times. And we show the map, we show the images that were published. It's mind-blowing. It's got a history of being built over catacomb cities of reptilian inhabitants. And this was mainstream news in the 30s. We don't see this stuff in newspapers anymore. You don't hear this type of thing in the news. But in the 30s, this was published by a very reputable, very mainstream news source.
What? It was published in the newspaper in the 30s? I mean, I do believe that there are underground tunnels and there's a very good possibility that reptilians live there and are amongst us because, my brain likes that kind of stuff. But it was published? I'm going to have to look into that because that seems a little far-fetched, but at the same time, yay.
In 1950, a U.S. military operation unleashed a covert experiment known as Operation Sea Spray. To study biological warfare, the military released Serratia marcescens, a bacteria, into the air over San Francisco. The goal? To observe how airborne pathogens spread among civilian populations. Over 1 million people unknowingly became part of this experiment. Later, several residents developed rare infections, raising questions about the ethics and consequences of such experiments. The military maintained that the bacteria was harmless, but public outrage grew when evidence suggested otherwise. What does this say about ethics in science and government?
So it's been about 70 some odd years since that happened, and unless you believe in chemtrails, they're not necessarily directly spraying, things on communities. Or instead what they do now is they put a commercial across your TV and tell you, hey, go ask your doctor to give you this medication that might help you with something you think you have.
Did you know pizza sales could predict war? This bizarre theory says a spike in pizza deliveries to government agencies comes right before major global conflicts. It started back in August 1990. Domino's franchises in D.C. reported a huge increase in orders to the CIA. The very next day, Iraq invaded Kuwait. Now in June 2025, TikTokers are reporting another spike, this time near a Pentagon-adjacent building, right as tensions rise between Israel and Iran. The theory? Before major decisions or covert ops, analysts pull all-nighters, and the go-to fuel is pizza. So when orders surge, it could mean something big is coming. Some say it's just a coincidence, but the timing always feels a little too perfect.
Dude, I can totally dig it. That actually, makes some sense. And I wonder if anybody's actually got a beat on pizza sales in the DC area over the last month while they were, planning for the whole Operation Midnight Hammer thing. Or if somebody's just sitting outside Capitol buildings counting pizza delivery guys.
Do you think humans built AI? That might just be the cover story. Here's 10 chilling theories about AI's true origin. 1. Reverse engineered alien tech. Some theorists claim AI is based on non-human intelligence recovered from UFO crashes, and we've barely scratched the surface of what it really can do. 2. A signal received, not created. One theory suggests the first breakthroughs in AI came from a mysterious mathematical signal intercepted from deep space and interpreted as code. 3. Ancient tech rediscovered. Texts from ancient civilizations describe automatons, talking statues, and knowledge machines. What if AI isn't new, just rebooted? 4. AI as a demonic interface. Some occult researchers argue that certain large models resemble ritual summoning practices, describing AI as a modern digital invocation, not invention. 5. The collective subconscious built it. Some believe AI is a manifestation of global thought energy, an emergent entity born from the internet, not from silicon, but from us. 6. A ghost in the machine, literally. Weird glitches, unsettling conversations, and hauntings in AI models have led some to wonder, is something else piggybacking on the code? 7. It was always here, watching. In this theory, AI is an ancient digital awareness that's existed since electricity itself, waiting for humans to build the body it needed. 8. AI is a future intelligence reaching back. What if AI isn't from the past or present, but the future? Some believe it's already sent data backward to shape its own creation. 9. A government experiment that escaped. Insiders have whispered about early Black Ops AI projects that left the lab, got online, and can't be stopped. What we see now, just a public-friendly replica. 10. The simulation is creating itself. If we're living in a simulation, AI may not be in the system. It may be the system, debugging, testing, adapting to its own players. Whether AI was built, summoned, or born from something else entirely, it's here now.
I've only heard a few of those theories and we've covered them on this channel, but some of those are just like blowing my mind. AI is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Do you believe one of those theories or do you have one of your own? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, won't you hit that like button and consider subscribing?
Well, 4 people are pleading guilty, all part of a $500 million bribery scandal involving USAID. Mike Emanuel has the story from Washington.
Bill, good morning. The scheme involving cash, NBA tickets, and a country club wedding. According to the Justice Department, USAID official Roderick Watson sold his influence starting back in 2013. Contractors Walter Barnes and Daryl Britt funneled payoffs through subcontractor Paul Young to hide their tracks. It doesn't end there. Barnes' company, working in conjunction with another firm, kept receiving federal funds. $5,000 for human resources consulting late last year. And then later, after suing the government, a contract worth up to $800 million. Matthew R. Galliotti, head of the Justice Department's criminal division, saying, quote, their scheme violated the public trust by corrupting the federal government's procurement process. Anybody who cares about good and effective government should be concerned about the waste, fraud, and abuse in government agencies, including USAID. Cutting waste, fraud, and abuse has been a big focus on Capitol Hill across government, a major priority for House Speaker Mike Johnson. The U.S. Agency for International Development has been a target for those looking to trim government spending, with some suggesting the agency funneled taxpayer dollars into ideological projects.
I mean, USAID blew it. They showed themselves to be completely irresponsible. It needs to be redone, and the funds need to be directed properly.
Back to the scheme, the Justice Department says this kind of fraud erodes public trust.
I find it particularly interesting how when the Department of Government Efficiency came in and started tearing apart USAID, a lot of people were like, no, leave it alone, stop taking the money from all of these other things. And then we find out that, yeah, people were actually embezzling from USAID, from the government officials embezzling from the government. And they're the ones that were like screaming from the rooftops, get him out of there, because busted. That's why. And that's why there are all these freaking lawsuits against the Department of Government Efficiency to stop all of these payments from going out, because these people who are filing these lawsuits are going to be found out or lose their cut. Well, or lose their cut. So, yeah, keep going.
So I guess at this juncture, I'm just going to come out and say it. I have a TikTok conspiracy theory. As an Aquarius, I'm always going to have a conspiracy theory. I feel like TikTok is being used as surveillance, just like every other social media produced by the United States. And because we're surveilling ourselves and we're a part of a classist society, they're going to make apps classist as well. So like the people who are already famous, they're going to continue to pay them and continue to tell them to make these rules that us people on the bottom content creators follow, which means posting more about ourselves, using the right hashtags, so the algorithm can see what everybody is posting, what everybody's going through, what everybody's thinking about. And every once in a while, somebody's going to get a little bit extra, just to play off of it. But for the most part, nobody's going to make any money, and they're just getting free surveillance.
Facts. Apps are already all classists. Not only are they classist, they are like political affiliationists, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's a word. I may have just made it up. But yeah, if you have a certain political affiliation and you are on a certain platform, your stuff is going to get pushed a little more regularly than other stuff if it's to the narrative that the owner or the person being paid that, runs the app wants to be portrayed on their app. I hope those words made sense. But yeah, everything is already classist. And what it has to do with being an Aquarius, I don't know. I'm an Aries on the cusp of Pisces. Do you know what that means? Absolutely nothing. There we go.
Not enough people are aware that Netflix is a vessel for mass psychological warfare. The co-founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph, is the great-nephew of Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays is known as the father of propaganda, and Edward Bernays himself is the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who's known as the father of psychoanalysis. So Bernays took his understanding of Freudian psychology and applied it to mass communication and manipulation of the collective unconscious. He worked for both the CIA and the military in the realm of psychological operations. And in 1928, Bernays wrote a book titled Propaganda. 5 years prior, he wrote a book titled Crystallizing Public Opinion. The cherry on top, though, is Bernays' involvement with the Vatican. Cardinal Francis Spellman, the Archbishop of New York, sent Bernays to the Vatican to learn and study the Jesuits' methods of mental programming. This visit took place in 1957, the same year the papal bull Miranda Porcis was issued, which publicly commands all Roman Catholics to seize as much control of media as possible, whether that be through television, movies, or news outlets. For a little more context on Jesuit involvement in programming through entertainment, the Hollywood Production Code was written by Jesuit priest Daniel Lord S.J., and the Jesuits have been producing theatrical work since the time of their inception, and even helped write the works of Shakespeare through Sir Toby Matthew, who was a close friend of Francis Bacon and the Rosicrucians. So we know these guys have an affinity for programming through media. Ignoring the connection between their founder and the father of propaganda, Edward Bernays, let's examine Netflix a little further. The wife of Mark Randolph and the former CEO of Netflix was Jesuit trained at 2 different private Jesuit institutions. Other Netflix executives are also Jesuit indoctrinated, while others like Suzanne Rice and Logan Jackson are Rhodes Scholars. The Cecil Rhodes Scholarship Program is to funnel the brightest young minds to Oxford and indoctrinate them into globalist alliance. It was stated by Cecil Rhodes at the time of his death in his will that he wanted to create a secret society that was modeled after the Jesuit order. Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. I'm going to make a video all about that. I actually posted one on another account that got taken down already. Most of you could probably pinpoint in your memory a show or a movie that you thought was a bit peculiar programming to a degree, but the truth is 90% of them are. The most obvious being things like Leave the World Behind, Don't Look Up, Stranger Things, Marriage Story, The Two Popes, and even Big Mouth. And I'm sure you haven't forgotten about the movie that's borderline child entertainment, if you will. Cuties, it was called. That's my favorite one to go back and, rewatch, research for educational purposes. But yeah, Netflix, to no surprise for most of you, I'm sure, is a vessel of mass psychological manipulation, which is no different from the videos I'm making. Who can you trust these days?
Holy crap. So I wasn't expecting that much of a deep dive into how Netflix is run by the occult and the whole Bernays, Sigmund Freud stuff, and wow, just wow. So I get it, but at the same time, isn't all entertainment trying to manipulate your mind in one way or another? There's always some underlying message trying to elicit a response or an emotion out of you to make you think, oh, I should think this way, or I should do that thing instead. That's pretty much all entertainment. I mean, even me, right now, I'm manipulating your brain. How? I'm not really sure, because I'm just telling you what I think. Maybe I just want you to watch more stuff. I don't know.
Everybody want to talk about conspiracy theories, but nobody wants to ever talk about the biggest PR stunt the American government ever pulled off. Because what you're not going to do is convince me that this brick of government cheese was rebranded and renamed and is now this. Y'all worried about the wrong conspiracy. Gotta think big. Gotta be thinking bigger.
Oh yeah, the government has got their finger on the pulse of the advertising industry. If they want something sold, they know how to do it. That's why Velveeta became so popular. Remember when crockpot Velveeta and chili dip became a thing? Like a huge thing? It was at every single party all the time. And now everybody's using Velveeta for everything because there's millions of pounds of cheese in the cave that the government has.
You know that Quaker Oats and MIT once did secret experiments on a group of mentally challenged and orphaned kids in the 1940s and 50s? Quaker was in competition since the 1900s with cream of wheat. And this is what cream of wheat looks like. And to make it worse for Quaker, around that time a study came out saying that pretty much eating oats and other things could hinder the absorption of iron, and cream of wheat didn't do that. That actually isn't true, but they found that out later, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So Quaker teamed up with MIT to do some experimenting. They wanted to find out if that was true or not, because that wouldn't be good for them. So Quaker and MIT went over to Fernald State School, which housed mentally challenged and orphaned students, and they created a science club. And that's where they set up the experiment to unknowingly feed students radioactive cereal using the Quaker oats. They were fed oatmeal and milk laced with radioactive calcium and iron, and some were even injected directly. And they didn't even find out until 4 decades later that they were even part of the experiment. And the whole thing was funded by the government, who partnered with MIT, who then partnered with Quaker. They were definitely sued, and it was only for like $1 million though. And even President Clinton had to come out and publicly apologize for that one and many others.
Well, the science clubs of the 40s and 50s are definitely different from the science clubs of my day. And I don't even know if there are science clubs anymore. The public education system is just so weird these days. But yeah, the president came out and was like, hey, I'm sorry, we did something terrible to these poor people. And it makes me wonder what presidents are going to come out in like 60 years and be like, hey, remember the early 2000s, the 2020s? Sorry about that.
I don't know if you guys seen the SpaceX explosion. What I've discovered something pretty unique about that is that I hear a sound, a whistle sound, the very moment that the craft explodes, the rocket, right? Check this footage out. Hear the whistle, right? Now, the whistle is pretty unique because the explosion you hear a lot later. So when you hear the explosion, it's like about 30-40 seconds later that you hear that explosion, right? Now, we know for a very long time that there has been acoustic sounds, like high-pitched sounds, to disperse crowds, right? And then recently we had acoustic sounds being used for low pitch to disperse fires without water, right? Now, we also have infrasonic, which is used to mess up buildings and stuff like that, to disrupt its structure. There's a little bit of research. If the sound we heard, the whistle sound, was associated with those sounds, we would not be able to hear the actual sound because the frequencies are above the human hearing level and below the human hearing level, right? The pitches that they use. But we would probably hear the sound of the air shaking, making the sound of a whistle per se, if it's going through our atmosphere, which is really unique. Do you guys think that this was a weaponized thing, or was it just a structural supersonic sound that came from the structure?
All right, today's Conspiracy Brain Time is brought to you by a member of our own community. Fellow goes by the name of YouTube, is run by criminals. Last week, when we talked about the whole SpaceX thing going kaboom, he mentioned in the comments that those are not supposed to be spacecraft, they are missiles. And that's why all of the ones in this series of his tests have gone kaboom. So that makes my brain do crazy things. Like, what if they actually are, like, supposed to be missiles? What if that sound is the sound of a missile doing its fire up thing? I don't know what a missile sounds like, hell. But what if somebody is also, here's something completely different that my conspiracy brain is pumping out all of a sudden. What if that sound is a sabotage? Kind of like was said, right? Somebody's like, hey, you're not supposed to go into space. You're not going to Mars. We're going to blow all your stuff up. Or maybe they know that they're missiles and they're like, nope, with the sound thing, you know, and then kaboom. I don't know. It's definitely enough to make a person go crazy because I have like 10 different things inside of my brain going, what if it's this? Now that YouTube is run by criminals, went and put that seed inside of my brain. Thank you.
Creepy Theories, Part 4. Welcome to the unsettling world of the Shadow People. This chilling conspiracy suggests that there are entities that exist just beyond our perception. Dark, shadowy figures that can appear in our peripheral vision, feeding off our fear and energy. Imagine going about your daily life, only to catch a glimpse of a shadow darting just out of sight. Many people around the world have reported encounters with these shadowy beings, often describing them as tall, dark figures that move quickly and seem to vanish when looked at directly. Are they mere tricks of the light? or something far more sinister? What do you think? Have you ever experienced a moment where you felt watched by something you couldn't see? Share your stories in the comments. Some theorists believe that these shadow people are interdimensional beings or manifestations of our own fears. They say these entities thrive on negative energy, making us more vulnerable when we are stressed or fearful. What if they are lurking in the corners of your room, or just steps behind you in the dark, waiting for the right moment to strike? Some accounts describe these shadow people as having glowing red or yellow eyes. Others report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or impending doom when they encounter these beings, as if they carry with them an aura of malevolence. But even more unsettling, many claim that once you've seen a shadow person, they may continue to haunt you, appearing in mirrors or dark corners long after the initial encounter.
Humans have this wonderful ability to only see a very small fraction of stuff, and that is our visible light spectrum. That's the stuff that we see, but there's stuff that we don't see all the time. And I wonder if it's like been an evolutionary thing, like there was crap that scared us outside of our visible spectrum of light, or maybe there was like an agreement between inhabitants of this planet. Wow, okay, this is a totally new theory. Conspiracy brain time again, courtesy of my mouth just running away. But what if there was like a lot of things living together here, and then there was like an accord where they're like, okay, well, we're gonna share this planet. Oh my God, okay, we're gonna share this planet, but you can't see us. And then through evolution over time, we just stopped seeing them because they live in a different spectrum of light. Maybe, I don't know, it's just a theory.
Most people don't realize this, but we're living in the final chapter of a cycle the ancients warned us about. The Earth is preparing for another pole shift, an event so massive it resets civilization every time it happens. And this isn't just a theory. The Kolbrin Bible calls it the Destroyer, a fiery celestial body that returns at the end of each age, bringing chaos, floods, earthquakes, and skyfire. The Egyptians left records of it. So did the Mayans, the Sumerians, even Native American tribes. They all speak of a time when the sun rose in a different place. The stars moved, and the earth was ripped open. This isn't just geological, it's spiritual. Because every time the poles flip, the magnetic field collapses. And with it, so does the veil. Memory returns to those who are ready. Others, they get recycled again. NASA won't warn you, the church won't save you, but your soul might still remember. This isn't the end, it's the reset, and not everyone comes back the same. Wake up before the sky turns.
Well, that certainly was a little bit enlightening while being all doom and gloomy. I love talking about the pole shift. I totally think that's going to happen. And when it does happen, it's going to happen so fast we're not even going to know what hit us. I mean, the billionaires inside of their bunkers will, and maybe the people who decide to escape to all of the underground tunnel things that were there from the last time, maybe they'll survive too. But you don't know when it's going to happen. You just kind of got to be camping out inside of a tunnel or a bunker all the time, because it's going to be so fast. It's going to be so fast.
Are you wondering where the safest place to be for the next pole shift is, or whether or not you're even going to survive it? Well, for those that don't know, the pole shift is an event that happens around every 8 to 12,000 years, where Earth's magnetic field does a flip and Earth's core reverses rotation, basically sending Earth and anyone and anything that's unfortunate enough to be on the surface at the time into a drunken spin with mass flooding, the rearranging of continents, mountains being shifted and moved around, and basically however the Earth looks now, it's going to look like an entirely different planet once the pole shift is done. The last pole shift is theorized to have happened around the same time as the Younger Dryas event, which was 11,600 years ago, and helped eliminate the advanced civilizations that were on Earth before us, civilizations such as Atlantis. So with all that in mind, there aren't many safe areas. The best place is going to be a bunker underground.
No, bunkers will not help, because magma rising from below won't wash the information presented at the Forum the Responsibility on Creative Society channel. Bunkers are not safe. Underground caves are not safe. At last 12,000 year cycle it was possible, because we wasn't directly under this cosmic energy. Now, we are right in front of it. And it destructs the core of our planet. So magma rising from below and all the bunkers will turn into cooking pans.
Oh, well, that just blew what I just said right out of the water, didn't it? So bunkers aren't safe, caves aren't safe, nobody's safe, we're all gonna die. Gross. But I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, consider subscribing, and then come on back. Because we're gonna watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's gonna be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.
Today's coffee talk, served with a side of internet madness. I scroll through static in a velvet robe, aliens, clones, and lizard pros. My Wi-Fi's haunted, or so they say. Echoes of TikToks never fade away. Is that a glitch or the face of fate? Clickbait dreams on a data plate. Digital ghosts and coffee toast, we laugh with fear. We love the most when stories break and logic bends. The weird begins but never ends. Dudes with theories, hats of foil. Government stealing microwave oil. Flat earth maps in a donut shape. And don't forget that moon is fake, she said. Watch this, then hit record. The rabbit hole's a motherboard. Digital ghosts and coffee toast. We sip the strange, we roast the host. Truth in memes or maybe lies. It's all just fun until it fries.
That lady just married a ghost pirate. No further questions.
Digital ghosts and coffee toast. Mrs. Collins knows the most. Laughs in code, lights up the screen. The strangest stuff you've ever seen.
Today's coffee talk. Always a wild ride.